guys, this weather has been absolutely bipolar. I mean, it is up and down. We go from 81 degrees to 29 degrees, 28 degrees at night. I mean, it is back and forth, up and down. And it has my sinuses and my throat so sore that I can hardly talk. I can hardly talk anyways. But when you get a sore throat like this, and your nose is all swollen together, it makes it even more difficult. So, before complaining in the comments about the way I talk and the way I breathe, realize that it's because of this weather, because of all this congestion and everything that's going on. But anyway, if you lived in Appalachia, if you're older like I am, if you're in your late 40s, early 50s, or even older, and you've been in Appalachia, then no doubt you have noticed how much that things has changed over the decades. From back in the 1980s, looking back when I was growing up and I was a teenager in the late 1980s, looking back, the way things were and looking at things now, it's such a huge change. I mean, we are definitely losing our culture in this area. It has changed that much. People have changed that much. I mean, if I was a teenager in the 80s and I was teleported to this time period now, I'd be like, what in the world's going on here? Because things has changed so much. It used to look more like a rural area. You see the trees behind me and things like that, and the mountains and things. We still have that, but the people are more like urban than they are rural Appalachia anymore. And you know, some people will say, well, that's great when you get rid of Appalachian culture anyway. Well, I disagree with that, but you are entitled to your opinion. But the people have changed so much. Even people that grew up here have changed. They have acquiesced with everyone else and tried to go along with everyone else and tried to be pretty much the same. And now, you know, I see people with blue hair, with big earrings, nose rings, face tattoos. I mean, I'm not saying not to do that if you want to. It's your body, do what you want to do. I'm just saying, compared to back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was early 2000s, it was changed so much. I mean, it really has. And like I said, even the people has changed. Even the language has changed. You hear me with my accent, and most people here don't have this accent anymore. Most people, it is gone. They talk more like they're from New York or somewhere, you know, somewhere up north. And just the feeling that you get anymore just isn't the same as it used to be. I mean, that's how much that has changed. And there's several different things, in my opinion, that's contributed to this. And that is television. People see things on television. The kids grow up seeing things on television, seeing the celebrities, seeing the movies, and they think that's the way it's supposed to be. So they start mimicking that look, that way these people act on television, on the programs they see, on video games or whatever. They start acting that way, and it carries on. The next thing you know, in a couple of decades, your heritage is pretty much gone in the area that you live in. And it is happening in other places too, besides just here in Appalachia, but this is where I am, so it's where I've noticed it, you know, the most. That and the schooling or being taught, it's all being done on purpose, in my opinion, to get rid of certain cultures, to get rid of certain type heritages, because they don't want no strong, independent, free-thinking people. They want people to conform, to be like everyone else, while thinking they're strong, independent, going against the system, but they all look and act, you know, the same way. So like I remember, you know, growing up, just about everybody in this area, the men, some of the women, but just about all the men, would hunt There's still some hunters here, but not nearly like it was. Used to be everyone, especially deer season, they couldn't wait to go deer hunting. And you would see in the newspaper would show, this buck and the guy that harvested the buck, how many points it was. Sometimes where it was harvested at, what he harvested it with, usually something like a 30-30 Marlin or 30-30 Winchester rifle. You would see that in the newspapers. You would see people driving up the road, with the deer on their hood, tied to their hood, or in their truck bed. You don't see that no more. Very, very, very seldom you see a deer like that that's been harvested by someone that's in the back of a truck bed. If it is, it's in the truck bed, tailgate shut, tarpaulin over top of it to cover it up because it might offend someone. That is the mindset now, and it's sad. Just like, when I was growing up, in the back of everyone's pickup truck, you would have, a gun rack, and you would have usually a 22 rifle, usually a Marlin or a Winchester 22 rifle, 22 long rifle, semi-automatic, and you would have maybe a pump action shotgun in the back, in the gun rack in the back window, or as the British would call it, the back windscreen, I think. Anyway, you don't see that no more, not because it's illegal, but because if you have something like that, you're more likely to be broken into, your truck glass broken, your guns stolen. And that's why, even I don't do that now, because the theft and things like that. It is amazing. It really is. Relationships has changed. Used to be, there's always been divorce and things like that's happened, but used to be people would get married, and the majority of those people would stay married. They would work things out. They would get through problems. They would work together to make a better marriage. Now, divorce, 5-6 years, most people are divorced. You will see the marriage, the big wedding. They will be all in love. It'll be all wonderful. They'll have a couple of kids. 3, 4, 5, 6 years stretches it out pretty long nowadays, and they'll be in divorce, working on their second husband or second wives. And most people have been married, several times because they can't get along. People want everything about them. They want it all. They want this fantasy that they've seen on television, they've been told they should have. And if their partner can't give them the fantasy, can't make them happy, instead of them trying to make themselves happy or worrying about their partner, their husband or wife, they want their partner to make them happy. And if they can't make them happy, they find someone else that can, because they don't care. There's really no love anymore, it doesn't seem. Very, very seldom they will think they're in love, but it's more lust, more status, and more, I've got to get married to conform with what society has said I should be doing. But the culture, the people, everything has changed. And it even looks different. It feels different. I mean, you go into, say, Walmart, and there was a Walmart here, back in the 1980s. It was a different building. It was they just had things like, they didn't have no food or anything like that. It wasn't a super Walmart, it's a regular Walmart. And you could go in, and things was different. It felt different. Now when you go in, it doesn't feel like it used to. I mean, everything, the people feel different. Everything feels differently. It's really quite sad, it really is. And the more you pay attention, the more you look and remember how things were, you realize how much things has changed, how much of our culture has been lost. And like I said, it's because of entertainment, television. People see that and they want to mimic that. The music industry, they see that, they want to mimic that. They're taught differently in school. They are raised differently by parents that don't really remember how things used to be. We also have, we've had a lot of people move in here to Appalachia from other places all over the United States, and there's a few moved internationally to this area, and that's fine. You know, some of those people are good people, but they don't have and don't remember Appalachian culture, the way things used to be a couple of decades ago, 3 decades ago. They don't remember, they don't know, so they don't bring that with them. They bring something else, and after a while, even people, especially younger people, that rubs off, and they lose any memory of the way things used to be. I know things change, that's just the way it is. Things change, but is it always for the best? I don't really think so. To me, things seemed a lot better. People seemed better, more honest. You know, used to be, and there's still a few just like this, but used to be most people's word were something that meant something. They tried to keep their promises. They tried to worry about their reputation. Now, people don't care about their promises, they don't care about their word, they don't care about their reputation, they don't care about anything at all. There's actually, up here at the store that I stop at, the little grocery store, and I noticed the other day there was a paper with names written on that paper that was posted behind the checkout counter, and the names was written in big letters, and it was people who have passed cold checks that's bounced, checks that wasn't any good, and their names is right there for everyone to see. And I would say most of those people on that list don't care. Who knows? Because he had no shame. They don't worry about things like that. They don't worry about their reputation. They don't worry about their word. It's not good, in my opinion. But have you noticed, if you're in Appalachia or anywhere else, that things has changed? I mean, if you're young watching this, if you're 25, 30 years old, you probably don't remember how things used to be. But if you're, you know, in your late 40s, early 50s or older, you can remember how things were in school, how the people were, how the people looked, how they talked, how they sounded, how it felt to be in a conversation with other people. You remember. Have you noticed a huge difference where you are in your community? I sure have. I guess it's just where I'm getting older and I think too much, and I look back and think the way things used to be, and I'm like, where am I at? What happened? What happened to everyone? What happened to everything? I mean, just like going to school. I mean, things are so much differently. Things are so much more different when I was going to school, and people acted so differently. We would carry, you know, pocket knives to school. No problem at all. We would trade pocket knives. Teachers didn't care. People didn't mind. Teachers didn't mind. I mean, it wasn't this big crime. Now, you have a little pocket knife at school, they'll call the police and have a SWAT team come to the 4-year-old to try to get some, to try to take the pocket knife away. I mean, it's crazy. It really is, the way things has gotten. And, you know, high school boys, a lot of times would have guns in their vehicle. They'd have, like I was talking about a minute ago, the gun rack. Loud truck passing by, sorry about that, guys. They would have the gun rack in the back of the truck, and hold 2 guns. They had their deer rifle. When they got off from school, they would be dying to go deer hunting. They couldn't wait to get out of school to go deer hunting, and they'd bring their guns, you know, to school in their vehicle and lock them up to, you know, high school. Can't do that no more. Can't do that no more at all. That's how much things has changed. But you tell kids that now, that's the way things used to be, and they'll be like, dang, no way it was that way. No way. Because they wouldn't think they could actually be that way. That's the way it was. And we had so much, you know, on an international level, we had so much more freedom back then than we do now. We have lawmakers who are always making laws, regulations, adding more taxes, more fees, more fines, more permits, more everything, more bureaucracy. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. If you look back 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't nearly as bad as it is now about all that. We've lost freedom, we've lost our culture, we're losing everything. And unfortunately, most people haven't seemed to notice or just don't care. Anyways, if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully.